taking you through a story very interesting that affects all of us, and we may have been victims to it or may have done it without knowing how it disturbs the person seated right next to. We've often seen, especially during COVID times, how people work on their laptops, talking on the phone at restaurants and coffee shops. While we're busy doing what we do, we don't really realize what the others are feeling, those who are seated right next to you. Are they disturbed or bothered at all? In Bengaluru, Sujata Yadav got a reality check when she was attending an office Zoom call at a cafe when a stranger walked up straight to her and dropped a napkin on her table. It was a handwritten note that said, "You can be heard all the way here." Basically to say that you're so loud, shut up, in as many words. She posted this on her X account saying, "Humbled." Now, Indians are known to be loud and there's almost no concept of personal space, but here this post itself sparked a heated debate on social media about etiquette in public spaces like cafes and how attending a Zoom call in such places can disrupt others who are simply trying to enjoy their coffee or conversation. Many arguing that while cafes offer a comfortable environment to work, turning them into personal offices and spaces expecting silence from everyone else is also unfair. Now, let me take our question here to our panelist who joins us to give us a little more into what etiquettes mean when you're at a public space. Discussing this with Dilip Cherian, who's an image guru, and Dr. Karanpreet Kaur. Sir Dilip, your take on how would you deal and respond to a person who's supremely loud at a space like a coffee shop or a restaurant where you're also enjoying your personal time? Can we expect silence? Is it rude to ask for some manners?
I'm going to ask you to allow me to step off after making this comment because I'm so embarrassed. I'm sitting in what is arguably the most iconic restaurant in Bangalore called Koshi's. And I've requested for a quiet space. Luckily, the restaurant is empty. And I'm now perched close to the bar. And the question that you're asking comes home to me so well because of the simple fact that I have chosen this place because it is the only quiet spot. And the waiter was extremely kind and said, "Sir, go and sit there and nobody's going to hear you." So I don't think I'm disturbing anybody else. But the surround sound to me is of a restaurant, which is, as I said, so iconic and so much part of Bangalore. Are Indians loud? The answer is yes, we are. Are Indians loud everywhere? I think that we've gone past the generation where Americans were considered ugly and loud. We've stepped past the age where the Chinese in hordes would cover restaurants as well as airports and make a lot of noise. But I think today, the loud Indian has become, in a sense, a global phenomenon. It's not just about taking Zoom calls. It is not just about, gathering in packs, having fun and allowing your decibel levels to rise. It is the individual Indian who tends to take every space as his own or her own and assume that anyone who's hearing, as long as it is not something tremendously confidential, can suffer it. That attitude has, in a sense, got worse in COVID. So I don't want to link it to COVID because COVID is just trigger,
but Cherian, if you're right now, if a person comes up straight to you and says that you're disturbing my space, I'm also here, with my family at a restaurant or whatever, I'm doing my own thing here, you're too loud, would you oblige and move away? Would you tone down, or will you demand your right to space as well?
I don't recognize any right to my space at a restaurant.
Okay.
I recognize that I'm imposing on a public right.
Right.
And I think that it's very rarely that I would take a call from a restaurant. I would normally have gone to a place like my workspace to take a call like this or home, but
I mean, but
because
but
I'm
we're working remotely. Half the world is working remotely now, so you're constantly on the move. Kiranpreet Kaur, while you're on the move constantly, it's very hard to oblige when someone asks you to tone down because you're busy, you're in the flow, and you want to get done with what you're doing at that point. You don't really care. How do you strike that balance?
Thank you so much for asking that brilliant question. I think we need to be attentive of our surroundings. The major problem is that a lot of startups started to use restaurants as their favorite place to do brainstorming, work on their ideation part, and I think we somewhere forgot that that's a public space. And while Gen Z is all enthusiastic about their rights, everywhere they're floating, but I think we need to ensure that we are able to find the perfect balance between our EQ and rationality. So one has to pay attention to the surroundings, be attentive, and also ensure that you are not killing somebody else's space. At a public space, this is like very basic, which everyone has to follow. So when we broadly say all Indians are loud, I would
For
slightly
someone to shut
disagree to
up.
that.
I can expect for the other person to tone down. I can go up to them and say, hey, you're too loud. It's well within my right. Is that what you say?
I think it's a public space, so everyone has equal rights. So if you're not respecting the other individual's privacy, then the person is supposed to walk up to you and demand it. Why not, be careful about it in advance itself to avoid that kind of an embarrassment?
All right. So a quick word. How do you teach manners to someone? What's the most polite way to ask them to shut up?
Interesting one. I think we need to follow the same basics that we used to do in corporate code of conduct. I think restaurants need to now float, these policies around how to utilize the space and limit the requests that they can accommodate in.
Mr. Cherian?
I don't think there's a polite way of doing. I think the the only way is for the place to put in some regulatory, indicators, because don't forget that there are a whole bunch of us today who also tend to be very aggressive about ownership of the table space, as it were. And we tend to, if you look at people from any urban space and how they behave, their ability to insist on their rights more than respect their duties is unfortunately getting more and more, shall I say, sharper. So to do it politely, the only way is to have, as I said, some clubs have it, that you can't take calls inside. You have to step out.
Interesting.
Restaurants
Well,
can't enforce that because they lose too much business.
Correct.
But, workspaces need to set up those. Even some workplaces are very loud. Because I consult
and as much as we can't expect every place to have those norms written down and the rules put in place, I think it's you've got to be self-conscious as well. You self-school yourself on etiquette. Be polite. There's a certain decibel with which you need to speak and settle with. And yeah, that's this polite manners, and we've got to learn that along the way. As I'm short on time, I thank both of you for joining us on the panel and letting us know your thoughts.